we finally got to Biloxi. I got to Biloxi, and it was about 10 minutes to 5 on Friday afternoon. I think it was the 22nd of August. Reader's Digest did this in a story because, so they checked out every detail. I mean, every detail. And I went to the phone book in the gas station outside of Biloxi. I said, "Welcome to Biloxi." I went into the next desk, and I just looked under cemeteries. I was just figured he's got to be buried in Biloxi. What else would they do with him? You know? And I didn't realize that I was on a real journey at this time. And I called the first cemetery, there was no answer. The second one, it was busy. And the third one was a real small listing, like it was an inferior cemetery. Maybe they didn't bury it real deep or something. I don't know. But it was like real tiny list. So I called it. And it turns out it was just a cemetery plot on the back of another piece of property. And an old man came to the phone. And they kept their records in Coca-Cola can boxes. The Coca-Cola can. He had to go back. He said, we don't have records here exactly. I said, I want to see if a Melvin Lyle Dyer is buried here. And he was gone for what seemed like an eternity, but he came back and he said, yes. He said, he's buried here. And my heart was just beating as fast as it could. I said, well, how do I get there? I'm in Biloxi and I want to come over there. I really feel like I need to see my father and I've never met him. He said, well, I got the death certificate right here. He said, he's buried. He said, your father's buried on the grounds of the Candlelight Inn. Oh my God. And he said, just find that, and it's just inside town. And I reached into my pocket, it was a true story, and I took the card, and on the back of the card is a map imprinted on how to get to the Candlelight Inn. I mean, it's printed, like it's got these arrows that go to it. And I was only 6 blocks away, and I put it back, and that's when I started getting the BGBs, whatever you call them, EBGBs. And I went to the gravesite, and this was in August of 1974. And I stood there, I was 34 years old, and I stood there and I was sobbing. It was just a little plate on the ground that said Melvin Lyle Dyer. And I sobbed and I sobbed and I cried and I talked. And I was there for 2.5 hours. It was almost like there was magnets on my feet. I couldn't leave. It was until 7:30. In fact, there was no entrance there. I just had to put just a chain across there. He asked me, he said, when you leave, just put the chain up across because they didn't want other vandals driving through there. And I left there, and what I did in that time, which was so significant for me, is why I think of it as an event that was like an unfolding in my
spiritual awakening.
Yeah, it was a spiritual awakening. It was like I forgave my father. That's what I had to do. And I think of forgiveness. I mean, I've studied this now, and I wrote a whole chapter about it. You'll see it when you believe it. Forgiveness. Mark Twain had a wonderful definition of it. He said, "Forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet sheds on the heel that is crushed." Isn't that beautiful?
Ooh, that is not anything I've ever heard. Oh, that's amazing.
And it's like, I think of forgiveness as like a snake bite. You know, it's like you get bit by a snake and you can't unbite yourself. I mean, but nobody ever died from a snake bite. A snake bite doesn't kill you, it's just a bite, you know, and we get bit all the time in all different metaphorical ways. What kills you isn't the bite, it's the venom that circulates after the bite. Well, mentally or metaphysically, the venom that circulates in you after the bite, after the things that have been done to you, is the hatred and the anger and the unforgiveness. And you think of Christ on a cross, and you think of the soldier, remember the King of Kings. I'll never forget that image. And the Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. What he's really saying there is they don't know that they're throwing a spear into themselves when they throw a spear into me, that we're all connected, that we're all one. And until you get rid of that venom, it will destroy you. So whatever it was that I was carrying around towards my father, which was being manifested in all kinds of conscious and unconscious ways in my life, I let it go in that moment. And it was like my father was there with me. I mean, he was just, and he's with me now. I mean, in fact, I can feel his presence here now as we speak. Always saying to me, like, where I am, there's no judgment. You know, so there's no good or bad here. There's no right or wrong in this. There's just like, tell my story if it's going to help somebody to forgive somebody, you know. And that was my purpose. And every time I do something that is generous and loving and good and helpful to other people, I feel like my father's smiling on me. And once I forgave him, it's funny because in my life at that time, that's when I was getting divorced. I was going through struggle. That's when I was overweight, like 25 or 30 pounds. I wasn't running. I didn't start running until the year after that. And my writing was really suffering. I was writing professional article stuff just to publish or perish, okay? That's where I was. I was trying to get published in different professional magazines and all that kind of thing. And I'd send stuff in was just stuff that you wouldn't want to read because it was just quoting everything else, and the kind of professional stuff that everybody does. They write to each other. Nobody else reads it. And then when you do like something that appears in Family Circle or Reader's Digest or whatever, or even the National Enquirer, 5 million people read it. I mean, give me 5 million neurotic people reading the Enquirer to fix, rather than a whole bunch of people who are just going to write back in another letter to me only in the form of another article. So I let all of that go. And I went back, and Erroneous Zones I wrote in 18 days.
In 18 days? Wow.
18 days. And there's 22 million of those in print today.
That's amazing. Now, it didn't take off right away. You had to take some action.
It didn't take off at all, no. They had one printing, and they expected it to do very little. And
they met their expectations.
Yeah, they were. They told me they had what they call a list mentality. They said, this is the list. You're on the March list. And it's a clever little title, and it's a nice little book. And if we sell the books that are on our list, they had a first printing of 3,500, then we'll be happy, and you'll make a little money, we'll make a little, and then we'll move on to the next list in April, and so on. And that was the mentality. That's a big part of the mentality in publishing today, as you know. So I just said, well, what will happen if the first printing sells out? Just if. I know it won't. I mean, that's what you're saying. It won't. But just if. His name was Lou. All right? And Lou said, wait. He said, you're not known. He said, it's 3,500 books in hardcover at $7, $6.95. I mean, that was like an outrageous price to put on the book at that time. I said, but just if. He said, well, if they do, we'll have to put a second printing in this book. And so I became, and they wouldn't let me buy it. I tried to buy it, they wouldn't let me. So I became a bookstore. I was in New York at the time, and all you have to do to become a bookstore is just give them a number in Albany, and you're a bookstore. So I became a bookstore by just giving them a tax number. And through that tax number, when I gave the address of the bookstore that my garage was to become in Long Island, it's true. And I called that day, and I ordered 3,350 copies of your Erroneous Zones, and they were shipped to the garage.
So you sold it out.
I sold it, and I went back to Lou. 2 days later, I said, Lou, what will happen if we do so? He said, Wayne, you've got to stop bothering me. It's like, you're another one of these beginning authors. I said, well, just check. Just check the computer. Just see how it's doing. Because I said, I've been doing a lot of speaking. And I think, and he went to his computer. It's a true story. I could even tell you his last name, Goins. And he went to the computer and he said, oh my God, this book is doing fantastic. We sold out the whole first printing. So they ordered a second printing, 1,500. They didn't want to take too much of the junk.
Oh, no.
I bought all those up there. I bought the second printing, and by that time they didn't have any money for distribution. They didn't have any advertising money. They didn't have any of that. They just because they just didn't do that in those days. So I said, I'm going on the road, and I quit my job as a professor at St. John's. I walked in, and I had all these publication credits, and I was like a rising star there. And they said, you're insane. You've got guaranteed tenure for the rest of your life.
Oh,
got a
boy.
position. Yeah, you can argue for your misery for the rest of your life. And I resigned. And everybody thought I was nuts, except my wife and I. We both knew that this was the right thing. The day I resigned from doing something that I no longer was totally involved in. I was good at it, but I didn't want to do it. It was like drill. I mean, after you've drilled enough,
sure.
It's just enough. Drill is drill. Maybe you don't need to keep doing it. I learned that in the military. So I drove home on the Long Island Expressway that day, the freest man I'd ever felt. I knew I was about to follow my bliss. I really knew it. And I didn't have any guarantee of any income or anything.
So something new and exciting is emerging in the world right now. Something that's never been done before.
The interesting thing about that is that in the following year and a half, I made more money. I was 36 years old now at that time. I made more money without even trying. I never thought for a minute that I would make money because I hadn't made any money on anything I'd written yet. I wasn't writing for money. I was writing because writing was just something that's how I expressed myself. That's just who I am. And I made more money in the next 18 months than I had made in the previous 35 years of my life, like by a factor of 10. And
you're just going out and sharing your philosophy with radio stations?
I took the books in a station wagon across the country, and this is the way I did it, if you want to know how I did it. I would arrive in a town like Columbus, Ohio, where they have Good Morning Columbus on the radio, and if you've got a new avocado dip, you're on for an hour, They're looking for people. Every station's got a talk show. You just have to find out who they are. And I had a girl back in New York named Donna Gould who was working for the publisher, but was willing to work for nothing at night just because she loved Erroneous Zones and loved me and loved the whole thing. I mean, she was just involved in the whole process. She really loved it. And so she would call these different stations and all that and book me on Good morning Columbus and good afternoon Columbus and hello Columbus and goodbye Columbus and and all of this kind of thing. And yeah, and I would have my car full of books. I would arrive in Columbus. I was sleeping in the car. I mean, I did this. I had no money to do this, right? And I would sneak showers. I would figure out how to take free showers, in days ends and things, But
you had a committed wife. Now, was your wife traveling?
Oh yeah, well, sometimes. She was also working, and I would go to the bookstores. And first I would telephone them call them up, and I'd say, you got a book called The Erroneous Zones, and I would do it in like 9 different dialects. You got Erroneous, Erroneous, Yazida, and I'd do it in German, and I'd do it in Dutch, and then when my wife was with me, she would call, and I'd get these people to call and ask for Erroneous. It's true. It's exactly what we did. Shame demand. I love it. But I knew I was going to create the demand. I mean, I didn't think I was doing anything, immoral. I was just creating the demand for what it was that I believed in. Besides, I had 5,000 books I had to give away because I had no distribution at all. So
you were what we call committed.
That's right. I was totally involved in the process, and then I would go on the air. Okay. And I would do what we're doing now. I never tried to sell my books. I never gave the title out. I never said, oh, by the way, my new book is called, and oh, yes, my book is this, and you've seen this on the air. And every time somebody does that, you think, well, they're not involved in it. They're just trying to sell me something, and you move away. I didn't do that. I was just selling myself as a person. I was just talking like we're talking. And when people talk and are committed and are involved and are authentic and are enthusiastic about what they're saying, people respond. People want to know more. They just want to know more. It's why I let everybody take all my talks. I never deny anybody to take my to this day. In fact, I not only allow it, I insist on it. And I don't take a cent for it. Anytime I speak, I say, if I'm on purpose, rather than an outcome, if I'm on purpose and in the process, then my purpose is to get the message out. That's where I've got to be centrally focused. Not on what's going to come back to me, not on royalties, just on that. So I allow every organization, you can take me, and you can do anything you want with it. Anything you want. You want to sell them to your customers and all of that, just don't put them into bookstores and make it a legal conflict.
Yeah, competition. Sure.
Just legal problems. Sure. But otherwise, do anything you want with it. Because I figure all that can happen is something good. What can happen if somebody hears an interview of mine, other than they say, gee, I want to hear more of that guy, and off they go to the bookstore, or off they do they call for the tapes, and all. Nothing but good can happen, and then you keep circulating it and so on. So I mean, I learned that about 3 years ago when my agent kept saying that you can't tape Wayne Dyer. Now I have a clause in there that says, I insist that you tape it, and do whatever you want with the tape.
That's true.
So I was like on that process. Then I would finish at the interview, and I would go to the same bookstore, and I'd say, by the way, I'm here in Columbus. The Little Professor bookstore, this is one of them I can remember very well. And I said, I just did AM Columbus, and I'm going to do this afternoon's Columbus, and I'm going to do all of it. And the guy said, my God, we've already had 10 phone calls. Well, I do. And I said, well, can I just leave 25 of my books here, and if they don't sell, then you can send them back to me, and here's the address, and it won't cost you anything to send them back to me. Sure. He said, absolutely, we've already had calls for it. And sure enough, they were getting calls. People were going in there. Sure. And that's how I distributed my book. So I did that in Columbus, I did that in Baltimore, I did that in Jacksonville, I did it in Tampa. I went to almost every, I shouldn't say every state, but I went to about 75% of the states in the country at my own expense, in my own little car, 6 months on the road. And then finally, the book hit the bestseller list. And it was interesting because the Tonight Show was the show that everybody wanted to get on in those days. That's when it was an hour and a half. And that story is so phenomenal. I don't know how our time is.
Or fine.
The story of getting on that show, because Donna was always trying to get me on the show. If she'd call the Tonight Show, she'd call them, and they'd say, if we hear the name Wayne Dyer one more time, I'm not. It turns out that a friend of mine now, very good friend named Howard Pavlich, was working on the show. And someone had placed a copy of Erroneous Zones in his briefcase, and he was flying back to Los Angeles, and he happened to pick up that book and read it on the plane. Well, he called me, and he asked me if I would be willing to fly out to Los Angeles and do a pre-interview for the Tonight Show. I said, no, I'm busy putting up my screens. I can't do that. What do you mean, can I go out to Los Angeles? Sure enough, I flew out to Los Angeles, and I went out there. And it's so interesting when you get off of trying to get something and just stay on purpose. It's that great quote from Thoreau: to advance confidently in the direction of your own dreams, endeavor to live the life that you've imagined. You will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. I want to talk about an unexpected thing. I couldn't get on one national show, Tony. I couldn't get on the Donahue Show, I couldn't get on the Today Show. These are all shows that I've done 100 times since.
Yes.
But I couldn't get on any of them because they said that, who are you?
Forced.
Yeah, and I was forced. but there's another way to reach everybody in the country. And that's to go to everybody in the country. If they won't put you on network television, you can still go out there and do it if you're committed to wanting to do it. So I go out there and I do the pre-interview. And it's the Republican National Convention, 1976, Kansas City. Bob Dole is going to give the keynote address. Now, I had such an angry feeling towards Bob Dole because I got on the show. Okay, I got on the show from the result of the pre-interview, and Shecky Green was the host. You know who Shecky Green is? Great comedian in Las Vegas. Super guy. One of the nicest guys anyway. And he does 1,000 different dialects. You must get to meet Shecky. He's a great guy. And he was hosting the show, and he asked me if I would, so I get on the show, all right? But it's Monday. But the show, for the first time in the history of the Tonight Show, gets preempted because Bob Dole, instead of giving a 45-minute speech, gives a 2-hour speech, and it goes over and the show's preempted. So I fly back to Detroit, where I'm back there with my wife, and I find out that the show's preempted. And I'm all excited. I'm telling everybody that in the world that I know that I'm on the Tonight Show that night, and it gets preempted. So, it's like one door closes, another door opens, another door opens. It always works this way. When you're doing what you're supposed to and getting off. So that was Monday night. Tuesday, Johnny Carson comes in to his meeting with Howard and all of them and says, and they said, we had a guest on last night that was fabulous. He said, the audience just went crazy over him. And Carson said, well, if he was that good, he said, I'd like to have him on before they show that preempted show, which was scheduled for a week from the following Monday. They were going to just sort of. So I get another call from
fly back.
Will you fly back? This time when I fly back, there's a limo, and I got to press my ticket. Things have really changed. And I've got my own dressing room. The first time I went in there, it's like, you can dress in the toilet over here. Now they're pressing my clothes and they're cutting my hair, which is really like not a big job. It's, I charge for a search fee when they do mine. So I go on the show on Wednesday night. This is like 2 nights later, and I go on with Carson, and Carson says, and we only have maybe 7 or 8 minutes. It was just great. It was super. He was so good to me. And he said to me, this isn't enough time for this. This is really terrific. He said, could you stay over till Friday?
Oh my gosh.
And do the show again on Friday, because, he checked with Freddie DeCorder. And I said, no, screens. I can't do it. I got So I stayed over till Friday, did the show on Friday. The preempted show showed on Monday. And from not having any national exposure at all across the country, I went from just doing AM Columbus and all these shows all over to getting 3 network appearances in 5 days. Wow. And the book went from, it was on the bestseller list at that time. Before I hit the Carson show for the first time, I got it on the bestseller list by just going across the country as an unknown. Got on the Tonight Show, did it 3 times in 5 days. The Donahue Show started calling us. I did the Donahue Show 3 or 4 times there, and then the Today Show, and it became became the biggest bestseller of the 70s. It was the top-selling book for the entire decade, and it was all because I was advancing. I was doing what made sense to me. Today I don't do that. Today I don't go out and do it that way. I do it another. I trust it'll all work out in another way.
Well, you built it also. But I think I really appreciate you sharing the story, because a lot of times I think people have interpreted your philosophy to mean just let things happen. And the truth is, you're surrendering, but you're acting. It's faith with work.
As you think, so shall you be. Okay, so you act upon what you think about. If you're thinking about what's missing, if you're thinking about the scarcity in your life, if you're thinking about what's wrong, if you're thinking about what you don't have, if that's where your thoughts are and what you're constantly thinking about and processing your world that way, then that will be what you have to act on. You have to act on what's missing. It's just like in a relationship. If you think about what you don't like about somebody in a relationship, then you have to act upon that. Your relationship is really not located in another person. It's located in you, where everything is located, in that invisible part of you. Do you know what everybody said about the reason why Erroneous Zones was so successful?
No.
It was the 70s. It was the me generation. It was the exact right timing. Geyer was lucky. He hit it at the right. They don't know how many, but that I put 45,000 miles on my car one summer, and that I went out and bought all of those books and all. It's like successful people are very, very lucky. Just ask any failure. They'll confirm it for you.
This is true. This is true. What is the most important? You shared a couple of lessons, but if you're going to say the most important, say 3 lessons you got in the last 10 years that you'd share with people, what are they?
I know it's at the top, and that is you become what you think about. If you want love in your life, send love out, have love within you.
Be love.
Yeah, it's like I think of the orange. I would give you an analogy. If you squeeze an orange, what comes out is what's inside. It doesn't matter who squeezes it, or what time of day, or what instrument you use, what the circumstances are. You can only get out of an orange what's inside. And if you extend the metaphor to yourself, and someone squeezes you, that just puts pressure on you or says something or whatever, behaves in a way towards you that you find objectionable. And out of you comes anger or hatred or tension or stress or bitterness or any of that. It isn't because of who didn't squeeze it or the circumstance. It has nothing to do with that. As much as we like to convince ourselves of that, it's because that's what's inside. And what's inside is always within our own control. I think the second thing is that Robert Frost said, we all sit around in a ring and suppose, while the secret sits in the center and knows. And what the secret in the center that knows is what it is that constitutes your very life. It's like this room we're in right now is only a room, not because of the walls and the configuration and all the form that's in here. It's because of this here that neither one of us can get a hold of, this silent, empty, invisible space surrounded by form. That's what, like in Zen they say, it's the space between the bars that holds the tiger. And it's the silence between the notes that makes the music. See, music isn't notes. It's silence between notes. You aren't form. That isn't what makes you who you are. What makes you who you are is the invisibleness surrounded by form. That's the secret that sits in the center and knows. Once you know that and make contact with that and realize that is who you are, that it is out of nothingness. It is out of emptiness. It is out of that silent, empty space that you create every thought. Every sound, when you go to make a sound, the sound comes from that nothingness. So nothingness, what we call nothingness, which is everythingness, which is the Tao, and the Tao that can be described, it's not the Tao, you can't describe it, it just is. It's in every one of us. Once you know that and go there and consult that, then you can not only affect your own physical life, but you can truly affect the physical life outside of you. Deepak and I were having lunch, Deepak Chopra and I were having lunch up in Seattle this day, and we talked about doing this new program. We talked about there are 4 ways we were just playing, toying. We said there are 4 ways to get strawberry ice cream. So let's think of the 4 ways to get strawberry ice cream. And he talks in this very wonderful Indian accent, Indian accent in India, I thought with a funny Detroit accent. And there's a lot more people in India than there are here. So we're talking about what are the 4 ways to get strawberry ice cream? And I said, well, if I want strawberry ice cream, I just have to have a thought. And the thought is, I want some strawberry ice cream. Now, I'll just go get it. Okay, so I go off to Haagen-Dazs or I go off to the grocery store and I get some. So that's like the thought, and then you act on the thought. Now, there's a second way to get strawberry ice cream, and that is to have a thought and then to send one of your kids to get strawberry ice cream. It's called slavery. Okay? Like, I want some strawberry ice cream, go get it for me. So you have a thought, and then somebody else goes and gets it for you. That's the second way to get strawberry ice cream. A little higher level consciousness. You don't have to work so hard. You got somebody else doing it for you. There's a third way to get strawberry ice cream. And the third way to get strawberry ice cream is through Deepak offered. He said, you just think, I'd like to have some strawberry ice cream. And then someone walks by and says, excuse me, is this your strawberry ice cream? And you say, wow, I was just thinking of that. And I was like, everybody listening has had that experience.
Absolutely.
Where you just think of your sister and you haven't seen her in 7 years, and all of a sudden she's calling you or whatever. It's like you have affected. You don't think you have. You just think that's some coincidence. But we know that there's no chaos, that there's order in chaos at the subatomic level. We know that. So it's like you think of something and then it just appears for you. And people say, well, if there's 3 ways, what could be the 4th? And we're sitting there and say, well, let's see. I'd like to have some strawberry ice cream. And you manifest it. Yes. You just manifest it. Or as Christ said, even the least among you can do all that I have done, and even greater things. I mean, the gift of fish and loaves, the gift of feeding others, the gift of and what do you do when you go to sleep? And when you're in pure thought? But everything you need for your dream, you manifest. So you need a Lamborghini? You need someone to chase you with a knife? You need a father that's going to abuse you? You need whatever characters you need for your dream, you create it. Now when you wake from your dream, you don't look back at your dream and say, where's my Lamborghini? Because listen, folks, everybody knows it's neurotic to be attached to an illusion.
Beautiful.
I mean, why would anybody be? So all you have to do to learn not to be attached to this illusion is to die while you're alive. That's what the Sufis say. When you die while you're alive, you look back on your life and you realize realize that you can't own anything. You can't have any of it. So what you do is you detach yourself from it. And the more you detach yourself from it, the more you get. And that's the great lesson.
Who is Wayne Dyer? I know he's a spiritual being, but what are your metaphors for yourself? Who are you besides that metaphor? That metaphor is so all-inclusive.
Yeah. My metaphor, you don't look back at your dream and say, where's my Lamborghini? Because listen, folks, everybody knows it's neurotic to be attached to an illusion.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I mean, why would anybody be? So all you have to do to learn not to be attached to this illusion is to die while you're alive. That's what the Sufis say. When you die while you're alive, you look back on your life and you realize that you can't own anything. You can't have any of it. So what you do is you detach yourself from it. And the more you detach yourself from it, the more you get. And that's the great lesson.
Who is Wayne Dyer? I know he's a spiritual being, but what are your metaphors for yourself? Who are you besides that metaphor? That metaphor is so all-inclusive.
Yeah. My metaphor is that I am not in the world. The world is in me.
What are your metaphors?
Whatever characters you need for your dream, you create it. Now when you wake from your dream, you don't look back at your dream and say, where's my Lamborghini? Because listen, folks, everybody knows it's neurotic to be attached to an illusion.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I mean, the gift of fish and loaves, the gift of feeding others, the gift of and what do you do when you go to sleep? And when you're in pure thought? But everything you need for your dream, you manifest. So you need a Lamborghini? You need someone to chase you with a knife? You need a father that's going to abuse you? Whatever characters you need for your dream, you create it. Now when you wake from your dream, you don't look back at your dream and say, where's my Lamborghini? Because listen, folks, everybody knows it's neurotic to be attached to an illusion.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I mean, why would anybody be? So all you have to do to learn not to be attached to this illusion is to die while you're alive. That's what the Sufis say. When you die while you're alive, you look back on your life and you realize that you can't own anything. You can't have any of it. So what you do is you detach yourself from it. And the more you detach yourself from it, the more you get. And that's the great lesson.
Who is Wayne Dyer? I know he's a spiritual being, but what are your metaphors for yourself? Who are you besides that metaphor? That metaphor is so all-inclusive.
Yeah. My metaphor is that I am not in the world. The world is in me. I really feel that in every cell of my being, the universe exists. It's like I'm like a pharmacy. I mean, I can create. What do I need to heal this body? For example, if healing is what I'm talking about. Who Wayne Dyer is this ability to, if I need Valium, to create. Deepak tells me the story of when he went to London, and there was a guy next to him drinking. He had 8 drinks before.
So you think you need to move to get the home of your dreams? Don't move, improve. The Stack Stone.
They had gotten halfway there, and finally he said to him, look, you're my buddy. He said, I'm going to buy you a drink. And Deepak said to him, I'm making my own. And it's like, knowing that. Like, I know that who I am is those birds you hear out here right now. I mean, when I see them flying, I soar with them. That's who I am. I am all of it. I mean, I'm not separate. I'm not even separate from you. Like I said before, like, I can wiggle this finger because I believe that there's a connection between some kind of a thought which is invisible and the wiggling of this finger. But I can't see that connection. I can't get a hold of that. And if I believe in the oneness of it all, that means that if you can wiggle your finger, that same oneness is there. I've got to detach myself from my separateness and believe that I can't be you. I am it all. I am the sun that comes up in the morning. I am the birds that fly. I am the flower. I am that invisible force that is in every living thing that allows it to be. That's who I am.
How do you help somebody who sees themselves as separate, not only from life, but every sense of life? How do you help somebody like that to bridge the gap to where they remember who they really are?
The only way you can do it, I think, and I've been at this business a long time of trying to help people and writing books about it. A lot of books I wrote long before Rolling Stones that were about counseling and was a therapist for years. I think that the notion of that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So it's like all I can do is help people to get ready. That's all I can do. And see, I mean, I picked up the Bhagavad Gita 3 years ago. Okay, now I've had the Bhagavad Gita in my library since I was in college, but never read it. And and I've seen it on, I've seen it 100 times. So finally one day I'm here and I pick up the Bhagavad Gita and I read it and I say to myself, it's about time they wrote something like this. This is really terrific. Okay. Then I see that it's about 2,500 years old, or 6,000 years old, or whatever it is. Right? And it's like, but it's been there all along.
Yeah.
But I wasn't ready. But when I'm ready, it's like it soars into my life, and I go to the mailbox, and what I need is ready. It's like we were talking about earlier. When I need to give a speech, and I need to recite a poem, or even with prosperity, if I'm feeling like I need to have more money or to more my investments to be, it's like it all gets, and the right person shows up and it all gets handled. Yeah. It's like trusting your intuition and knowing that everybody has it. So all you can do is help people to get convinced that they have this power within them, that it isn't something I have and you don't. It's something that you have but you haven't used yet. And the fact that you haven't used it yet is no reason to judge yourself badly or even to be mad at yourself. You ought to be saying, I haven't been ready. Now I am. And as soon as you acknowledge that you're ready, when the student is ready, then you'll find your teachers appearing, and your teacher might be like my little kids who walked into your room. Yes. Or when John asked me, he said, will you do this interview? My first inclination was no. I am here doing something else. I'm here with my family and all that. And then I got this, I meditated on it, and I got this really nice letter, and it was like, and I thought, I've got to talk to Tony. I've been wanting to talk to Tony. And Tony's got something to learn from me, and I've got something to learn from Tony. So the opportunity is here, and we've like missed each other on a lot of occasions. We've been with each other, but we've also missed. We've been on the same programs in the same cities, where you spoke in the morning and I spoke in the evening, and you've been gone and I've been gone, and we've been sort of like being thrown at each other, but just sort of missing. And I said, we both got something to learn from each other, so let's do that. I've heard some things about you from other people that I didn't like. You've probably heard some things about me that I said, the way that you get it all in harmony is that you don't ignore it. You go with each other. So you walk into my house and my children are in love with you in a second. You knit a beautiful kind of spirituality. I see that. Whatever you are going through in your life I know there are struggles with your fame. I mean, you've come very young, very fast, very, very powerful, and I've got an enormous organization about you. And I wanted to say to you, I don't want you to get swallowed up by it. I want the essential beauty that is within you to flower. And sometimes you have to say, I said that's one of the things you got to say is no. And I like to say it, but I'm not as good at it. But I'm a lot better at it than I used to be. So it's like what I'm saying is there's a mutual thing here. It's like
I appreciate the gift of it very much.
Yeah, and likewise, I appreciate the gift of being with you. And so I just let go of all of the other stuff. This is a wonderful opportunity. Let's do it. And you know what that came from? That came from nothingness. That didn't come from anybody telling me how to do it or what I should do. That came from a trust. It came from my own intuition. Yeah, trust. But my intuition said, see, I told my wife when I got to that, I said, I'm not doing any interviews. I said, I'm not doing it. And she said, you keep saying that. He thinks you protested too much. I said, but I'm not doing any interviews. And then she said, read the letter. And I read the letter, and I said, she said, what does your intuition say? What is God telling you? What is God telling you? How may I serve? That's my mantra. How may I serve? How may I serve? How may I serve? Always ask that. Not what's in it for me, but how may I serve? And as I kept saying that, I said, my intuition says, do it. She said, call him.
I have another thanks to make when I go downstairs.
Yeah. But we do that with each other all the time. It's like that, and that it's like trusting that intuition. It's a very, very powerful thing, and it's like it never ever guides you wrong. The only time in all my investments that I've made, and I have a whole financial philosophy of giving a certain percentage of it away unconditionally, and also paying yourself first. It's like reinvesting what you make back in yourself and in your family and all that. The only time I've ever taken a loss financially in any of my investments was when I ignored my intuition once, and I invested in something that was not conducive to the environment. I don't even want to say what it was because it's neither my purpose to plug nor to blame anything else. But my intuition said, no, Wayne, this isn't. They're doing something that is conflicts with what you believe.
Right.
But the yields were high, and they were guaranteed. And it was like, and I put $155,000 into this thing, and they went bankrupt, and I lost that $155,000, but I gained so much.
Because you never forget those lessons.
Yeah, it was a great lesson. And since then, every time I invest anything, I always ask, where's this money going? What's it going to be doing? And then it just comes back to me like tenfold. So it's all been made up in many, many ways. So it's like I ignored my intuition once, and I paid a price, but I learned. It's a great lesson. It's a terrific lesson.
What's the purpose of life?
The purpose of life is real simple for me. It's Joel Goldsmith has a wonderful book called Parentheses in Eternity. And you are a parenthesis. He says your life is a parenthesis in eternity. It opens at your conception, it closes at your death. But eternity surrounds it. So that there was an instant before you came into form, if you believe in eternity, in which you went from formless to form. The question to ask is not how did I do it? Did I sign up for it? Did God do it? Is it a Big Bang Theory, which is an interesting metaphor, or whatever? It's like, don't ask that question, because that's just trying to analyze, that is to break apart something that is not breakable. The Tao is trying to understand the Tao. So to ask the question, why? Why would you go from formless to form? The answer to that is so simple for me. It's like I used to wonder about that all the time, and now it's like so simple. You can't get anything while you're here in this parentheses. You can't have a thing. You think you can own it, you don't get any of it. If the jewelry that adorns you adorns another in another instant. The house that you own, the cars, all of that kind of stuff. That's just all like a little loan and a little lease, and then it's gone. And if you get attached to it anyway, it'll destroy you. So you can't have anything. So if you can't have anything, if you can't get anything while you're here, then purpose must have something to do with giving rather than getting. And to me, the purpose of life is to give. The purpose of life is to enrich the lives of others in some way. The measure of your life will not be in the duration of your life, will be measured in the donations of your life, okay? And what you are able to give of yourself, because you can't get anything. The only thing you can do with your life is give it away. You can just give it away. Every day, your form deteriorates a little more. It's heading towards the closing of parentheses. And once you know that, then you know that you can't have anything. You can't stop that. Nobody can stop that. So all you can do is just keep giving it, and the more you give away, the more that comes back. What goes around comes around is not just a funny little song title. It is a powerful, powerful message.
And understanding it basically shifts the quality of life. Right?
Well, sure, Tony. It's like getting your life on purpose. If your purpose of life is to give, then get your life on purpose and get everything that you do on purpose. If you're driving a cab, don't be thinking about how much of a fare you're going to get. Think about how can I serve this person and let the fare take care of itself. If you're a salesperson and you're thinking about my quotas and what I'm going to get, you're not on purpose. If you're thinking about the quotas of the person you're serving, that person is going to send you 21 names tomorrow of people that they want you to serve as well. It's like the more you give in anything that you do. If you're a dentist, don't think about how much money you can make. Think about making this person's tooth and his mouth as healthy as it can be. The universe will take care of the rest. Purpose means giving, not getting. And once you get that, and it's like that's how you have to orient your whole business. That's how I've oriented my entire business of my books. Do you know that everybody who writes me a letter gets a book? It's fantastic. No charge whatsoever, no expectations, no nothing. And anybody who writes me and says this tape didn't work, they get a free set. You know, it doesn't make any difference. I don't want to hear about it. Somebody wrote me a letter from Seattle, and they came all the way over to hear me at that program that I was on, that I mentioned. I was the keynote speaker, I was the last speaker, and they had to go back because their father was sick, and they spent $100, and they couldn't, and they were very upset. I sent her the $100, and the set of the tapes of the whole day. It's like, that's what I believe in doing. Except when people tell me I have to do it.
I was going to say, I think there's one organizing principle for you, and that's freedom.
That's right. Because a gift is not a gift when it's somebody telling you what to do. Then it's a debt. That's a debt.
Yeah.
And I don't want any debts.
We live by the same philosophy there.
Yeah. So if you demand from me that I give you something, or tell me that I have to give it to you, you're not giving me an opportunity to give. You're just giving me a debt. And I've got enough of those.
This is wonderful.
It's been great. It's been a great interview. Yeah, it's been nice. And it's like, it gives us a connection.
Yeah. What makes Wayne Dyer laugh? I'm curious, because I know you're easy to smile and laugh, but what gives you the most tickle, the most joy in your life?
I think myself. I think I make myself laugh, and I laugh at myself. I really
What a great skill.
Yeah, I really see the folly of it all. I mean, if you ever listen to me speak in public, most of my laughs are just like poking fun at myself. I poke fun at not having any hair. I've been using that for a year. You know, I just told you this is not really a bald head. It's a solar panel for a sex machine. You know, and those kinds of, and also my children. My children really make me laugh. My baby, especially. I mean, when they're babies, especially because babies are. I mean, under say 2. You know, they make me laugh. My little boy. I only have one little boy and 6 daughters, and. That little guy, just, you know, last night, I mean, 11 o'clock at night, we were both laughing so hard in the bed in my little studio. That's where we go down and sleep at night. And just telling stories. I asked him, he always says, tell me a scary story. I said, will you tell me one? And he just made up the funniest, craziest kind of thing. Children make me laugh. Animals make me laugh. But I really laugh at the folly of it all. And, so many people think that we come into this world and we have just a short time and then it's over. And there's no joy, there's no laughter in that. To me, I mean, I'm laughing at that. Someone once said that, he said, I don't try to make my audience laugh. He said, I try to make God laugh.
Whoa, that's great.
And I really like that. It's
that's
like,
nice.
yeah. It's,
I think he's laughing all the time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's a wonderful story that Yogananda tells of a black man in the South back in the 40s and 50s when it was really, really terrible down there and he worked in a white church, an all-white.
Information overload. You know, when we all get too much real-time market data and news to process.
Like that, the church where they wouldn't allow, he was the janitor, and they wouldn't allow any black people to come in and worship. And over he would ask the minister, couldn't I just come in and worship with you on Sunday? That's all I really want to do. And the minister said to him over and over again, I can't let you do that. I would lose my job. I would like to, but I can't. So finally he went and got into deep prayer. And in his deep prayer, he asked Jesus, you know, why Christ? Why can't I just pray with those same people where I work again? I mean, Jesus responded to him, I've been trying to get into that church for 20 years and they won't even let me in. and it's like it's a metaphor. Like, they think that they're praying to me, but I can't even get in. So or Churchill had one of the great lines of all time. We'll talk about humor. Great people. He was a man that I really admired. I remember the day he died. I was teaching at a school in Detroit, at Pershing High School in the inner city, and Churchill was in the hospital, and he was prime minister in 1945, and just after the war was over, and he was having such a struggle with Parliament and all that, and he had to go into the hospital for surgery, and a nurse came in, and she had to give him a bedpan because he couldn't get out of bed, and she was carrying out his bedpan, and he started laughing uproariously, and she said, what in the world are you laughing about? And he said, I was just thinking that that's the first movement of mine that's been carried out since I've been prime minister. That was kind of, and all of the great ones have that kind of a sense of humor. That makes me laugh.
Those moments.
Yeah, that makes me laugh.
How do you want to be remembered?
I don't care if I am.
Yeah, I had a feeling that would be the response.
I've thought about that, and I just...
You want to be remembered by your children?
Doesn't matter. Yeah, I just want to be with them while I'm here and love them and be as loving as I can, and then whatever they do with it will be what they do with it. Whatever. See, I always tell my children that your reputation is not in your hands. Like you and I both have a very public reputation, but I've heard some wonderful things about you, and I've heard some really scabby things about you, and vice versa. But it's not your reputation is located in all the other people. If you give a talk to 2,000 people, you got 2,000 reputations.
That's true.
And you have no control over it whatsoever. You go to school, I tell my children, you go to school, there's 30 kids in your class, and you got 30 reputations every day. And the only thing you have control over is your character. And that is yours. So it's like, when you do go out into the world, don't be concerned about how you'll be remembered, because that's just going to be, if there's 10 million people exposed to you, there's going to be 10 million remembrances.
That's true.
Just be concerned about your character, and that's what I try to do. I try to walk the talk.
It's clear you do, and I think your greatest gift is that you are a character.
Yeah, that's true, I am. Yeah.
I appreciate this time with you very, very much.
Thank you. God bless you. God bless you.
What a challenge.
Next hour going. Alright, Chris, you're signing for 3050, 45,000 pounds. If that's correct, go ahead and come on in. 43.5 and 4070, if that's correct, scan, come on in.
Copy.
Stop there. That should work. Set your brakes and load you.
Damn, that was good. Yeah, I got the drone. It's right there. Oh, can you see it? Oh, you can't see it, but yeah, it's back here. Yeah, I can't even touch it. I'm too busy rolling, which is a good thing. Yeah, we got the drone though. Yeah, we got the drone all right. We sure did. Oh, yeah, we got the drone. Question is, and we got next thing is the booster board. That should come in next week too. Not next week sometime, hopefully, or 2 weeks from now. So after that, then we're all tied up. That's it. We ain't buying nothing else except for food. That's it. That's all we buying. That's all we buying. Bad, boy. So hopefully we're busy tonight to the morning.
Alrighty, Frank, you're all loaded up. Go ahead and exit and have a good one.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Alright, Todd. See you pulling up there?
AC still blowing at 90-degree weather. That's why it's blowing. It's melting the ice on it. It's not freezing up. So it's a good thing it's hot out here because we got AC. So I guess we should stay this way. Stay 90 degrees and up. Be good. exercise. My shoulder's starting to give out on me. Alright. We're gonna listen to the stock since we already got our therapy for today. Now we gotta get some financial therapy. See what my boy's talking about. Alright, so where you at, man? Oh dude, what's up with this fucking lightning? I mean, what's up with this lightning? It's not. There we go. Back right now. Alright, bro, where you at? You ain't posting nothing, man? Yeah, you gotta shut down just like anything else. Yeah, you roll for 16. I mean, you know, you only drive for 11 hours, and after that, you gotta shut down. Oh man! All right, so we're gonna have to re-listen. Come on, man, Tim. What's up, man? You're not posting any videos, bro. Come on, tighten up. Tighten up, man. We need these video lessons to come in. You slacking, brother. Come on, man. Tighten up. You're taking too many vacations, man. Fuck. Nah, I'm fucking with you, man. Just fucking with you, brother. Where you at? Where you at? Tim Explains. Yeah. Guess we watched the last one, which is the best, which is a really great video because it tells you need to cut your losses. It's easy to make money. Hardest thing about this game is cutting your losses when it starts to go against you. That's the hardest thing in the whole game, man. Cutting losses. That's it. So this is probably one of the best video lessons of all, right here. Fuck. Watch it for the third time. Make sure I watch it. Probably watched this video probably like I'll say this is the 6th time. It's gotta be like the 6th time I've watched this fucking video.
Yourself in a situation where there's just an intense pressure to succeed immediately. You can't come to the market saying, and it kind of reminds me of my EVOK trade. That's what you asked me about. A short that I was in, swing play. In a few days, I'll cover it up, take my gains. Instead that afternoon, they had an offering, and the stock dropped about 30%.
Come on.
The problem with trading is that it all comes back to discipline, and that's the hardest thing to control, because your rules mean nothing without them. I mean, it can happen to any trader at any time if you're not following your rules. It sounds great to say, I have these rules that protect me, but they don't protect you if you don't follow them.
Shit. God damn it. go. Damn. Fucking Verizon. This motherfucker here. Hurry up. Oh, fucking day. Load that motherfucker. This motherfucker.
Girls around the world.
And crazy runs from the $2.
God damn this motherfucker. Fucking shit.
It was boom really quickly. And unfortunately, you know, a break of discipline, it doesn't even have to be intentional. It could be an honest mistake. And I saw this just earlier in August on UPLMQ, a almost $34,000 loss. One of my very important rules is that I never will hold through earnings. It's a gamble. I don't want to be long through earnings. I don't want to be short through earnings. Because I don't know if it's going to be good or bad numbers. I don't know what the market reaction is going to be to that. It's just all one big unknown. So I go out of my way to get out of positions. The day I entered this UPLMQ position, I actually was exiting another trade because it had earnings after hours and I didn't want to be short still. But UPLMQ, I completely forgot about it, and it was entirely my fault. I had seen a press release earlier in the week about their
Tastes like pudding, 'cause it's so
earnings
nutty.
conference call. I had been warned on Twitter by somebody who was saying, oh, I think UPLMQ is going to hold up until, you know, after their earnings date. And the day I entered this trade, just totally slipped my mind. I was playing the chart pattern. It was just like any other old trade. I mean, it was the daily chart, upper right corner there. First red day after a big run up. I was just scaling in for a swing. I was going to risk off of, I think, the lower high on that afternoon of the first red day. But overnight, they dropped good earnings. It has a huge gap up. It trades on the OTC market. There was no chance for me to get out. I think its first prints that morning pre-market.
Hurry up. Come on, let's go, load.
yourself in a situation. Where there's just an intense pressure to succeed immediately. You can't come to the market saying, I have to make money today. That mindset is going to destroy you, because every day there aren't good opportunities in the market. Look at today. I mean, it's one of the most boring days I've seen in a long time. I get asked all the time, you know, is $1,000 enough to start? Is $2,000? Is $5,000? I mean, the answer completely depends on you. It depends on your life situation. I mean, I can't answer that, unfortunately. You just have to keep yourselves comfortable. That's the most important thing. If you're not comfortable because of financial reasons, the market's going to eat you alive. Your emotions are going to rule you. Even if you do have a lot of money and you know you can jump in with both feet, you still want to trade small early when you're a new trader, when you're making your beginner mistakes. I mean, I still make plenty of mistakes and I'm a veteran at this point. One email I got that I will always remember, this will always stick with me, is a challenge student who emailed me, and they had just joined the challenge 2 weeks before, and they had just started trading. They were completely new to everything, and they had joined with a $60,000 account and told me they had 30 left, and I couldn't believe that, you know, they were like, they just didn't know not to trade that kind of size early. $30,000 is so much harder to recover than 1,000 or 2,000. It's just, and it's so much more devastating in terms of real world money. So, I mean, I know it's exciting, and I know you want to jump in and make money right away, but if you let those early mistakes, those early losses wipe you out to a point that's not recoverable, you're never going to have a chance to succeed. I mean, again, everyone loses sometimes. My 1,500 losses, that's about 30% of my trades. I think a couple of years ago this number was more like a 72% winning percentage. So it's gone down in the last couple of years, which means I'm probably winning at more like a 65% rate now. But my losses are so small and so controlled that I'm still very profitable overall. And I said earlier, don't fear losses, embrace them. And that's because taking a loss as a trader is one of the best things you can do. That's how you control your risk. That's how you feel safe in a trade, knowing when you're going to stop out, knowing how much you're willing to lose, and trusting yourself to follow that plan. If you're in a breakout and that breakout stuffs and it doesn't work and you have to stop out, what's there to be emotional about? It's, you know, it was a good setup, it was a good try, but it didn't work. Go on and try the next one, but control those losses. Where you get into trouble is if your breakout stuffs and then you don't take the loss and all of a sudden you double it or triple it. That's when the emotions kick in. That's when I would be frustrated as a trader. Not if I took a loss, but if I made a mistake. One thing now, I guess, is we've talked a lot about losing, and you know, you can't just lose all the time. I say to embrace losses, but that doesn't mean lose 20 trades in a row and slowly bleed off your account. So some things you can do to learn to lose a little bit less. I think trade analysis is one of the most important things new traders can do. It's so important to track all of your trades. You need to be able to answer the question, where do I succeed and where do I fail? And that takes time to figure out, that takes losses to figure out. I've frequently told people about how I blew up my $1,500 portion of my account the first time that I was trading. It was my first 6 months from May 2011 till November 2011. That was my period where I really struggled. And at the time, I was just trying to do a little bit of everything. I was trying to do way too much. I was new to penny stock and silver. I was listening to some other gurus, and I was just trying to trade every setup under the sun. And you know, none of them I really was all that good at. None of them I understood completely. And I wound up blowing up as a result. I took a lot of losses, but I tracked those trades. I tracked those losses, and I also tracked my wins. And I started to figure out, you know, where am I comfortable? Where do I find my success? Where do I see myself failing? And my big turning point as a trader was because I tracked these trades, because I could answer these questions, I figured out where I was good. I figured out my niche. At the time, it was buying OTC breakouts. It was buying new promotion releases. And I mean, that narrowing my focus down to just those two setups and ignoring everything else is what enabled me to be consistent and finally start growing my account. I do encourage tracking because there can be a big difference in perception versus reality. You might feel like you're losing all the time at a setup or winning all the time at a setup, but how profitable are you overall in it? I tracked my trades for a while back in February and March. I was still struggling a little bit, not too happy with how I was trading. And one of the areas that kind of surprised me in my results was my breakouts. Now, I wasn't at all surprised that I was a losing trader when I was trying to anticipate breakouts, because I've always preached against that. That's never been a part of my strategy. But sometimes I have little lapses in discipline and I try to do it anyway. And I mean, first of all, I preach against it because I think it's less reliable, and my numbers seem to definitely show that. I won at a 25% rate and lost a little over $3,000 at the time trying that setup. But also, I'm sure that some losses in there were emotional too, because I was in a setup I wasn't comfortable with. Now, multi-day breakouts and then breakout continuation, which I would define as really getting back into the long trade on day 2 or day 3 of the breakout. Both of those I won less than 50% of the time. But look at how profitable I am on both of those. And that's because, you know, even though I lost more than I won, I was taking very small controlled losses, and my wins would far outweigh my losses because the risk reward was so in my favor on that setup. So, I mean, if I hadn't been tracking this, maybe I would have been getting frustrated with breakouts. Maybe I would have been saying, oh, I feel like I never win with this. And I wouldn't have seen the reality that I'm actually making good money there. The other thing that tracking can help you identify is whether the problem is with the setup you're trying to trade or with your plans for that setup. I mean, one thing I saw from tracking my trades was that I was making a lot of emotional exits. I wasn't sticking to my plans. I'd be in a trade and I'd be risking off of $1, let's say. And maybe I'm in at 105 and the stock is dipping. I'm down a couple cents a share. It's consolidating, being choppy. And I either get bored out or I'm so annoyed with being down a couple cents a share that I take it off. And my support level that I had planned to stick to never breaks down. Later, the stock ramps back up, takes off, does exactly what I thought. So you need to really see, are you giving your plans a chance to work, or are you making that emotional exit because you're getting caught up in other factors, whether it be that boredom or that fear of being down a couple cents a share, you know, the trade not immediately working. Also, I mean, ask yourself, are you often getting tricked out? That is a big factor in identifying whether or not the problem is with the setup or with your plan. I mean, breakouts, again, let's talk about those. If you are buying the breakout and constantly finding yourself selling into weakness, right after you sell, the stock reverses and goes the direction you thought, that might tell you that you have a bad plan, your stop loss is too tight. So, you know, even after you get out of the trade, keep watching these setups, keep seeing what do they do, and did it eventually work out or not. And that can help you modify your plans and figure out where you have the risk off. Another really important piece of advice, I think, is trading the chart. You know, I want my primary focus at all times to be the chart, the pattern. I want to be trading off of that, not outside factors. I hide the unrealized profit and loss column on my brokers. That was a really big help to me. controlling my emotions because I didn't constantly have those numbers staring me in the face. I mean, back when I was first trading, I would see like, oh, I'm up $150. I want to take this. And that's a completely wrong reason to make a decision. I'm not paying attention to the trend. I'm not paying attention to whether the stock is still doing what I think it should. I'm looking at my profit and I'm saying I want it. And that's the wrong reason to make a choice. So hiding the unrealized profit loss, and now I even hide the realized profit loss column on my brokers now. Like a lot of times I don't know how much I'm up or down until the end of the day when I finally take a look. But I want to focus on the chart, and that helps me do it. Also, don't set price targets. I think a lot of traders, and this included myself for sure, come into the market thinking like, okay, well, cut losses quickly. I won't lose more than 3% on a trade, or 2%, or whatever number you're comfortable with. And I think that's a really wrong way to think about it, because if you take that set number into every single setup you try to trade, you're going to be stopping out at a lot of really random points on charts. I want to focus on the chart. I want to focus on key support and resistance levels. So I would say I'll cut my loss if the $1 support level breaks down. And then I'm playing off of a number that matters, and it matters because of the chart and because of the price action. And then I'll determine my size after that risk level has been established. So for sizing in, for establishing that risk, let's say I'm long a breakout and I'm risking off of $1, and I don't want to lose more than $1,000 on this trade. I'm going to be able to take more size if I enter at $1.05 than if I enter at $1.10. At $1.05, I'm risking 5 cents a share. So with 5 cents a share risk, I can take a 20,000 share position. But at 110, that's a wider risk. That's 10 cents a share risk. $10,000 or a 10,000 share position only. Either way though, I'm playing off of that dollar support level, and that's what really matters. So, I mean, as much as I might want that 20,000 shares, I'm not going to force myself into that and put my size way out of my control and way out of my comfort zone if I'm not getting the entry I really want. Now, one important thing to think about when it comes to sizing in is don't forget about slippage. And what slippage means is that you're probably not going to get executed right at $1. It's probably going to execute more like 99 cents, 98 cents. So, even if I'm in that situation where I'm entering at 105 and I know that I could take 20,000 shares, I'm probably taking more like 15, 16, 17,000 and giving myself that little bit of extra room to not execute, exactly at $1. It takes a little bit of that pressure off, and then I'm not getting stubborn for the wrong reasons again, saying I can't sell at 98 because then I lose $1,200. So, accounting for that really can go a long way. So we've talked a lot about losing so far, and the reason I have focused so much on losing is because I think it's really necessary to know how to lose before you are really in a position where you lose. Losing is what gives you the confidence that you're safe, knowing that stop loss, knowing your size. And the question I get all the time after a big win is, how did you know? How did you know that MGT was going to tank? How did you know EOK was going to tank? Insert whatever ticker you want. It's always preceded by how did you know? And the answer is I never do know. I don't. I go into every single trade thinking about the potential loss first, thinking about my risk. That's the first thing on my mind. And you know what? If I'm wrong, I'm okay with it, and I'm ready to try again later. MGT is just the perfect example of one of these, because MGT gave me fits. Like, this was one of the most frustrating tickers I traded because I went into it from the start with the wrong bias. I did not respect the McAfee news. I was trying to short this, I think, probably in the 70 or 80 cent range. And the first time I shorted it, I got a little stubborn and took a little larger of a loss than I had meant to. So it just I had a really bad taste in my mouth with this ticker from the start. And I took so many losses on the way up trying to short it. But every single time it was a small loss. Every single time, I really never got seriously stubborn. Just that first time, and then after that, I was really good about respecting my stops and getting out of it wasn't working. And that set me up for the big win down the road. I mean, if I liked it short at $2, I liked it short at $3, I loved it short at $4, I had to have it short at $5. MGT, we're talking about learning to lose and, actually cutting your losses. And I'm so fortunate that I did on this day right here. Do I have the pointer? Yeah. This is the day before the big tank. And I had tried short a few times this day. My first short, which was really just brilliant, was this short right here at low a day. And but that was a little impulsive out of the gate. But I cut that loss. And I can't tell you how many times in the past I've gotten stubborn in that trade. And I rode it all the way up to 5 and had to watch it all day and cross my fingers and pray and hope like, oh, I really want it to come back down and crash because I'm super uncomfortable right now. And then the next day, when that big tank comes along, you know, I'm so happy to get back down to break even. I'm so happy I'm not holding the big bag anymore. You know, I'd probably take it off for plus or minus a couple $1,000 and that's that. And then I really have missed this amazing opportunity right here. But MGT, I cut my losses. I cut the loss on this. I tried up in here on this high and this consolidation, and I cut when it broke past this high day resistance. And I even had a short later in the day where I pretty much top ticked it up at 490, and I was swinging this short. I had this awesome short. Like I added into my winner. I was short 25,000 shares from maybe a 475 average. And I'm thinking, okay, like this has to be it. It's finally weak. And then the next morning it gaps up and opens in the 5s. And I'm cutting this loss pre-market, like swearing under my breath because it got me again. But all of these times, these are all very small losses. Couple $1,000 here, couple $1,000 there. As it got up into the 4s and 5s, and I thought the opportunity was just getting way too ridiculous and awesome, I was starting to size myself up a little bit intentionally because I was saying this is one of those, you know, you only see it a few times a year setups. And because I cut all those losses and never got stubborn, when it failed to have the big morning spike, the big gap up this day, when it was churning and consolidating, setting lower highs, I built back in. I got myself back up to about 25,000 shares short, had this nice hard crack, added a little more into this pop, and then the bottom fell out. On the way down, I made about $49,000. I reshorted the big bounce, covered into this fade throughout the afternoon, made another 15 or 18 there. I mean, this was my best trade of the year by far, best day of the year by far. And it was all because I was actually cutting my losses. I knew how to lose on the way up. I never got stubborn like I had in the past, and you know, I'm so proud of this one as a result because it really was where I could see a big turning point in my year and in my discipline. MGT, I was out of it completely by the end of the day. I mean, if I was building in all morning here, I covered it up pretty well into this panic. This panic happened quick, in 20 minutes I think. There were a couple of volatility calls. When I shorted this bounce up here, I was very patient. I covered up most of it probably around 3 o'clock Eastern. So I didn't have any overnight though, and I kind of moved on. You know, that's my style. Is I nail the volatility, I nail the move I like, and I move on to the next one. I haven't really stayed married to MGT since then. So learning to win, guys, it's so important that you realize this is your journey. I know it's really reassuring to have the experienced trader telling you what to do, whether it be in the chat room or by email, but these are decisions you have to make for yourselves. I mean, I get questions a lot about brokers, how long, you know, people should study, whether or not paper trading is useful, when they should size up, what they should be trading. I mean, myself, Tim Sykes, you know, anyone really is very happy to offer guidance. I'll tell you what broker, you know, has the best short sale availability. I'll tell you what broker has the lowest commissions that I know of. But you have to decide, you know, which factors like that are important to you. Those decisions are yours to make. You know, I'm not walking your journey, you are. Don't try to mimic others. This was one that I kind of have learned along the way. Like I'm Tim's most successful student, but if you look at my trading, I don't trade at all like Tim now. I mean, there are definitely some similarities you can see, but I'm not like an exact little protege who, you know, you'll see my trade and say like, oh, and Tim just made the exact same trade. I think for myself and I do my own thing. One of the first setups that really clicked for me was multi-day breakouts. I pulled that straight from Tim's DVD, Unity Stocking Cardio. But one of the things that I do differently than Tim with multi-day breakouts is I risk differently. Tim buys a breakout and he likes to see that resistance immediately become support. He wants to see that support level holding. Whereas when I buy a breakout, I like to use a little wider of a risk. I like to look at the last main support level before the breakout occurred. And that's what I'm sizing in for, and that's the risk I'm playing off of when I get it. And I'm just more comfortable with that. I feel like I get faked out less, and you know, that's just, I took that setup, I took that idea, and I made it my own. And that's what I encourage all of you guys to do with gurus also, is, you know, no matter who the guru is, look for what makes sense, look for what speaks to you, but then make it your own. Don't try to just, you know, follow an instruction manual and do it exactly like they would. In general, I think setting goals is not good. I mean, everyone, I think, gets their foot in the door with trading because they're thinking about the potential rewards. They're seeing traders who have made it, you know, the millionaires, lifestyles they're living, and it's really hard not to get caught up in all of that. But you're not going to get there overnight. You're not even going to get there in 6 months, probably. It's a really long journey, and you got to learn to be satisfied with the baby steps to go along with that. I mean, I for a long time, when I was struggling, I just wanted to be green on the week. And then from there, you know, the goals would slowly increase. All of a sudden, I'm thinking, okay, maybe I want to make $1,000 this week or $2,000. But the important difference here is that I'm not going into the week with that goal, trying to do everything I can to make that happen, and pressing and forcing trades. You know, it was more of like an after the week reflection, right? I feel like I had a good week if I had made it to a certain number. But you know, the funny thing is, I never started off thinking I want to be a millionaire. I wasn't focused on that end goal at all. I was just taking it one little step at a time. You know, first I just wanted to make money and be successful, a little bit consistent. And the journey, it's going to have all kinds of obstacles along the way, all kinds of, you know, unexpected lessons, unexpected losses, and setbacks that you're going to have to learn to overcome. Adapt or perish, this is another really important concept when it comes to winning, because I'm very fortunate that I started branching out when I did and trying to learn NASDAQ, because we're at the point now where the OTC market is pretty much dead. There is no promoter that I would really buy anymore upon their announcement, and OTC breakouts are very few and far between. That used to be my bread and butter. That was all I traded when I was growing my account, really from $1,000 to $1,500 to, I was probably only trading those setups up till about $50,000. And then there still was a huge part of my account growth all the way up to $1 million. I didn't get satisfied though. I didn't stick to that one area of the market. I have constantly worked to branch out. Now, don't dive in and try to do too much at once. You know, I got myself into trouble when I was a beginner because I was trying to learn 8 different setups, trying to do a little bit of everything. I think that it's great to go in with that narrow focus. It's great to stick to the area where you succeed. Then branch out one setup at a time from there. Once those initial 2 setups that are your niche become very comfortable and almost second nature, that's when it's time to add a new setup to your arsenal, and then another, and then another. My work is never done. I mean, I'm a successful trader now, but I don't say, okay, I'm successful, so I'm done studying. Like, you know, the market bell dings at 4 o'clock and I'm out of here. No, I still track stuff. I still look for new setups. I still look for new edges. I'm always working to add something new to the arsenal and to keep adapting. Tracking setups is another very important part in learning to win. When I did transition over to NASDAQs, this was one of the first things I did. I had no experience with NASDAQs. I was completely from the OTC world. So the first thing I did was I just needed an idea, and I asked myself, what do NASDAQs that run big, you know, have a big day 1, what do they usually do on day 2? And I didn't even know what bias I was looking for. I didn't know if I was looking to long or short. I just was curious. So I started tracking them. I just had a little spreadsheet where I would start putting in all the tickers, you know, they were the top % gainers for the day, or maybe had a good day 2, and I would just ask myself the next day, where did they open? Did they gap up or gap down? What was their high? What was their low? Where did they close? And I mean, it's just the most basic of data. It really wasn't anything all that special, but through analyzing that data, through analyzing those numbers, the overwhelming answer I found was that I should have a short bias going into day 2. And I think that's probably part of the reason why I'm such a heavy short seller now, because the numbers pointed me in that direction. So, I mean, just that one simple question really helped me develop as a NASDAQ trader, and then I got more specific from there. again, I like to track it actually in a spreadsheet because there can be a difference in perception versus reality. I like to have those hard numbers in front of me. But I get questions all the time on tracking and how you should track. The first question you have to ask yourself is, what is your idea? What are you curious about? And then pull the necessary data points that will help you answer questions about that setup. What would be useful to you? It really always comes back to you and what you need. Now, these setups, use them as a guide, but don't blindly follow them. I'm not going to look at data and say that, okay, future of NASDAQ's on average made 5%. I'm not going to go into the next day, short a NASDAQ, and say I'm not covering until it's a 5% gain. I'm still going to take it setup by setup, case by case, trade each as its own individual thing. I just use that really more as a guide and to help inform my bias. Now, when it comes to services and chat rooms, I've stressed this a bit already, but think for yourself, guys. Don't ask people, what should I buy? Don't ask, is XYZ a good long? Those are the wrong questions to be asking, even if you're asking someone experienced or a guru. Think about, what do you want to buy and why? Follow up on your own ideas. And especially don't ask people, 90% of the people in the chat room, we don't know how successful they are, we don't know how experienced they are, so don't let a chat room stranger tell you what's wrong, because, who knows if they have any idea what they're talking about. Learning setups and ideas, I think, is the best way to handle services. When I was in penny stock and silver, when I first started, this was the approach I took. I was watching video lessons, and at the time I was so focused on longs, and buying was the area that I wanted to really be my niche. So I would just go through the video lessons and watch any video lesson. It was tagged, as a buying video lesson. It taught about longs. I used that to get ideas and just ask myself, what are other successful traders doing? And it goes back to that idea of take that idea, make it your own. Be you. Don't mimic. Don't try to follow, a step-by-step playbook of somebody else. And please, 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 guys, do not follow alerts. I said please 3 times there because it's that serious. You're not going to get anywhere. I tried it too. You don't learn anything. You don't make extra money on the side like you think. Really, you just usually wind up chasing alerts. And a lot of times now, if I see an alert really get chased up, I'm short selling. That spike was created from chasers. So what's going to happen when the guru sells? They're going to flock for the exit. So please don't chase buy alerts and be the guy who's buying my short sell in that situation. So just to kind of recap here, what and how I trade. What I do is I'm just looking for a predictable, repeatable situation. And tracking is what helps me identify those. I have the courage to be wrong every time. This is a very important part of my trading. My rules keep me safe, my discipline keeps me safe. I trust myself now to take these losses, and that's why I'm okay with being wrong. Remember that being wrong is one thing, making a mistake is another entirely. Finally, I think to myself, when I'm in a trade, I hate getting other opinions, even if it is from, someone I really respect. I like to have my plan. I like to have my idea. And if I'm wrong, I live with it. That's fine. But when I start, reading somebody's watch list at night, it could suddenly throw me off a little bit. If I'm short something and I'm like, oh no, this person thinks it's going to go up, and then all of a sudden I'm second guessing myself. So I try to really avoid all that outside noise and just stick to my gut and stick to what I think is best. So just to wrap up here, guys, it really is not easy getting there. You're in for a long and tough journey, and again, there's going to be a lot of setbacks, and a lot of losses are necessary, especially early. But it's just part of the process. The most important thing you can do for yourself is stay disciplined. If I want you to take one thing away from this talk, it's that. Discipline is the most important thing, and it takes a lot of willpower, and really a lot of practice, because even here I am in year 5 of trading, and I'm still doing all kinds of work and practice on mine. From point A to point millionaire, it takes a lot of self-discovery. You do have to figure out who you are, what kind of time frames you're comfortable trading, whether you're happy or long or short stock. And again, losses help make that happen, figuring out where you succeed, where you fail. But really embrace the process, guys. Don't be frustrated if you're not making big gains in day one, week one, month one, because that's just not practical. It's going to take you a while to get there, but the journey is well worth it. It takes time, but you can do it. Thanks.
Casey, yeah, you got yours on? Pull up here? Yeah. Okay. That's it for the night, man. About to call it a night. I'll see y'all tomorrow at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. is when I'll see y'all. Yeah, we're gonna call it a night. I'm gonna take my ass to sleep.